Hello everyone, Cynics here, and in this video we're going to be tackling part 3 of our Gun Tech Industrial Design Lab. So it looked like the clear winner from part 2 was Blooz's kind of sci-fi energy weapon. So that's the thumbnail we're going to be working with. We're going to be trying to make a more finished presentation and a more finished design with it. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm just going to make some changes to try to make it seem more functional. I would say the main thing I was looking for in all of the designs was functionality. And when it comes to guns, a lot of times functionality means the ability to hold it comfortably and, operate it and have it look like it would make sense and fit into the real world. So anyway, you can see I'm just kind of messing with his design there. His original handle had a bit of a dog leg in it, so I tried to make it a bit more simplified without ruining things. And I also messed with this stock back here. I turned it into like a collapsing shoulder stock. And that's one of the other things I'm going to be doing with this presentation is I'm going to be making two very small but very close variants of this design, and they're going to be revolved around that shoulder stock. So I quickly put that on another layer, and I quickly have a collapsible shoulder stock that I can just quickly turn on or off to make pop in or pop out. But I kind of like it with it popped out because it kind of gives this thing a more practical feel. And you can see the other thing I did was I got rid of some of the excess kind of battery stuff, the technology stuff that was coming off the bottom. I tried to keep some of it just to get that feel that he was going for with the thumbnail, but it was a bit overkill and I wasn't sure how you'd be able to actually hold this thing. So instead I kind of placed a grip type area in the front where you can hold this thing underneath, and I think I positioned it far enough from the handle to where it seems pretty practical. Very similar to like I don't know, an M16 or whatever with a grenade launcher under it. So that kind of aesthetic when you're holding it, maybe. But anyway, I kept some of the stuff. I kept one of the wires that was dangling underneath. I didn't want to have too much of that stuff. But I feel like we captured the look and the feel of his thumbnail pretty well, despite all of these ergonomic changes that we've made. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on this paneling area, and I want to really define this kind of exoskeleton of this weapon, because obviously it's when you have like these sci-fi things, you usually have underneath where all the mechanical workings are, and then you can kind of simplify the design aesthetic into like this exoskeleton type thing, which is like the shell of your industrial design, and that needs to have a good silhouette in itself. Independent of the whole gun, the whole silhouette, you want your kind of that shell, that thing I'm rendering out, that exoskeleton, to have a nice, really dynamic and interesting to look at silhouette. So it's like two different designs going on. The one design is the overall gun, and kind of sub design is this shell of a this shell. I guess I could just call it the shell. But this kind of, maybe it's made of plastic, maybe it's made of some kind of synthetic material. But this is probably where you're going to have like, your color if you want to bring in a lot of color into things, or, your just additional stuff like that. So I made that quick shell, and then I'm going to take it over into Photoshop. I'm kind of getting behind on my video, but I'm going to use one of Photoshop's nice little features to just kind of mask out that area using like a mask. And to do that quickly, you can just take a photo and put it over top, and then you select that mask layer, and then you're just going to hold down Alt, and right at the bottom of your photo that you're placing into the mask, you're just going to click the bottom of that layer in your layers selector window. Man, that's a handful. Okay, I'm getting away from myself. Let me talk about a couple other things. So I have all of these photos of industrial design stuff, and these were submitted to me by a nice guy named plamen. who lives in Bulgaria. So these are authentic Bulgarian photographs of mechanical, industrial, looks like mostly war machines from Bulgaria. So that was nice of him to give me this little library of photos, and I'm putting them to good use by kind of including them in this video. So I'm showing a lot of different options, and this is kind of just a fun time to play around with things. Scott Robertson actually did a good video recently about using photo textures to kind of bring some life into simple thumbnail designs. So I'll probably link that in the description below because it's also cool because he's been doing a lot of videos lately as well. I think he said he wants to do a new kind of concept art related video every Friday. So that's great. That's definitely going to be a channel that I recommend everyone follows because he's a very good professional in the industrial concept art world. So anyway, I'm getting off track yet again, but you can see I put in this other mask under my, main exoskeleton paneling mask, just to add some detailing to the that kind of under mechanical stuff, maybe the workings of our energy weapon here. And that's just to bring up the level of detail so it doesn't feel too flat and simple compared to our exoskeleton. I hope that made sense. We just need to kind of bring up the level of detail so it doesn't look too off-putting when we have it against something really simple. So I'm going to bring in more photo textures, just kind of bring in our level of detail, stepping it up. And you can see this was kind of, I was trying to decide which one I actually wanted to go with. I have this one that's like kind of green, and it was the front of a truck, and it managed to work out nicely. And I also should note that I'm using not the overlay, but I'm using the hard light, I think, layer property on my kind of image above, and that just will let it sink into that value map I did of our shell. I did that previously. So now you can see I'm just playing with the colors. I think I liked the design of that bright yellow kind of metal feel with their little rivets here and there, and it just kind of had a nice texture to it. Wasn't too complicated, but I thought I'd bring the color back to something more military, because obviously if you're going to have bright yellow, it looks like a construction tool and not a gun or a weapon. So I brought it back to something more military looking with this green color. And I'm just once again bringing in some little photo textures just to give some grittiness and some level of detail to some other stuff like that round kind of chunk of metal up there. And I think I decided that that would probably be some kind of targeting, I don't know, computer, probably just some place where you can have a scope, attach, or, something like that, something tactical like that. But anyway, I think that's about it for using photo textures. I brought my photo textured gun back into Painter from Photoshop because once again, Photoshop is very good with photo textures, photo editing, kind of quickly doing image type stuff and rotating and resizing things. But I like to paint in Painter, and you can paint in Photoshop, but it's just personal preference. So anyway, I'm just going back in Painter and kind of rendering this out a little bit, making little things like this, the little pipes here on our extendo. What am I saying? The little yeah, I guess I could say pipes. The little pipes on our extendo stock there. It's giving some lighting reflections to them so they don't look two-dimensional. They look a little more three-dimensional. Not doing anything too crazy, just trying to kind of blend that textures in. But yeah, doing some digital painting passes like on their paneling, and kind of doing some just minor reworking on some of the elements that go into everything. So I think that's kind of the bulk of what I wanted to talk about with that. I actually had a lot of plans for this video. I was going to do a lot more interesting stuff in different angles and really get into maybe 3D stuff, but kind of ran out of time, so I didn't get to do quite as much stuff as I wanted to do. But I think the end results are okay. Once again, I probably could have sped this up more because it's just a lot of little noodling around and trying to make things look slightly more photorealistic if I could. But that's kind of hard to do when you're just speed painting things fast. But obviously, I need to give a little bit of details just to every little thing, so it all kind of feels like it is a cohesive image, and it doesn't feel like a Photoshop that's just been thrown in. So the last thing I love to do when I have this like nice little exoskeleton type thing is I like to see if I could bring in any accent colors, bring in any kind of geometric designs onto things. So I have like a little, just a couple little stripes, some subtleness on the top part. I brought in some, maybe bandage or some wrapping around the back part just to give it a little personality. But anyway, I jumped ahead here, and you can see I'm not showing the actual creation of this, but I made like a crappy, and I mean really crappy little kind of 3D representation of this gun, and I did it in SketchUp, and I'm not going to do a tutorial on SketchUp quite yet because I'm pretty terrible at it, and there's definitely a lot of great tutorials on YouTube about people that are actually good with SketchUp. But I quickly just used the image I had made as a photo texture, and I just used that photo texture and quickly rendered a very basic geometric shape here of the gun. It's like that handle area and everything underneath that little shell part. That's just like a flat box, and the top part just has like one, maybe two angles. So this is probably like the lowest polygon, model possible. But it works for the purposes of being able to then go back into Painter and render it out from this angle, which, I'm not putting too much effort into getting it to look perfectly good. I just wanted to be able to show what possibly could be going on inside that whole, I don't know, that whole targeting area. Maybe it's like some kind of heads-up display thing, some kind of intelligent system there that kind of displays a image of what you're shooting at. Or maybe it gives some other information. I don't know. I'm just kind of making this up as I go along, trying to have fun with it and making each part of the gun seem slightly functional. So there's like a little heads-up display in there, some little red dot thing. Um, but I think that's about it. You can see the finished image here. I have the two variations. One is more for long range, I guess, and one is more for like short, up close energy weapon. Maybe it shoots out some plasma stuff. I don't know. And then I just included both Blooz wonderful thumbnail design, and I threw in that little 3D mock-up as well. So I think that's about it. This is like a finished presentation, and I'll upload it somewhere so you guys can get a better look at things. And that was a fun and interesting design lab. Part 3 probably could have been better. I think I covered everything I wanted to. Once again, there was just a lot of short little videos, a lot of short little concepts, going over them real fast. The main thing I wanted to do when you're brushing up a design is just improve the functionality, make sure everything feels right and everything can be held and operated and everything can move, joints can move, and things like that. And the other thing is to then improve your textures, and you can mess around with photo textures to get ideas, and that's kind of what we did. We got a bunch of different ideas using photo textures, and then we went with one we liked and we developed it farther. And the other thing we can do is make little 3D mock-ups to further kind of sell our design. So we have like a finished design. I think we could sell it, and that should be it. So I hope that was somewhat interesting. My commentary was a bit rushed, but that's kind of the price you pay when you get sick for a week and you have to do these real fast. So the next design lab will probably be a creature based one, and if you would like to submit ideas for what the topic will actually be for our creature design lab, you can do that in the comments below. I hope this was fun. I'm glad we had so many great participators, and I think that's it. Bye everyone.